welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's second Friday Vacation Station travel show with Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. We are the Crazy Mother-Daughter travel team and publishers of two digital interactive publications. We have our Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. That's our variety publication. Covers food, wine, and travel, and quality of life, good stuff like art and music as well. And we also publish Parks and Travel magazine that obviously covers parks and travel, as well as our Love Your Parks tour, where we're traveling full-time across the country, documenting parks and also sharing the stories of their communities. You can check it all out at bigblendmagazines.com. But, you know, every second Friday is our Food, Wine, Travel show, and it is a partnership with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. And what is so cool about this, we've been doing this for a number of years, is we get to sit and find out what all these travel writers, where they've been and what they've been up to. And on today's segment, we're very excited to welcome back Elaine-Masters. Elaine was on our show before, I think about a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Who can count time? She was on our show talking about Quebec. Well, today, she's back on the show to share her experience on Japan's Kumano-Kodo, I hope I'm saying this right, Kumano-Kodo-Trail. It is a UNESCO Heritage Trail, and she just got back from Japan. Her article is up on nationalparktraveling.com. So just type in Japan. I think it's the first article about Japan on that site. And it is also featured in the January-February issue of Parks and Travel magazine, which you can see on the same website. But welcome back, Elaine. How are you?
I am doing so well. So happy to be with you again.
Yeah, you too. And everyone, you can follow Elaine on her website, tripwellgal.com, because she knows how to trip well, right? And it's about doing wellness travel. You're a healthy traveler.
I'm all about doing it well, not so much focusing on the wellness. That is just one part of it, but how to travel well, no matter how that works for each individual, just like finding your way through to make it work for you.
So wine can be incorporated in this. This is the important question. Okay. You know, Nancy and I are laughing. It's almost wine time here as we do this.
That's my wellness right there.
Yeah, you know. So you were in Japan's Wakayama Peninsula.
That's right.
Did I say it right?
Yes,
Ooh.
as far as I know. And I have to have a caveat as well. I do not speak Japanese, so I will be stumbling through this as best I can. And it was my third trip to Japan.
Oh, wow.
So I've tried to soak up as much as I can, but this trip focused on an independent itinerary. And I was just traveling with my sister when we decided to take on this particular trek.
This is interesting because it is a UNESCO heritage site, but your article talks about this is a way to get away from all the crowds. So it seems like, is this like a network of trails, or is it like one big pilgrimage route, and then, you know, everybody goes to specific sites and crowds it up as visitors and, you know, as travelers and tourists do? And how
I know that a lot of the other UNESCO sites, especially those that have recently in the last few years been adopted into that program, have a tendency to get over-touristed. But this particular area of Japan, because it is a loose network of pilgrimage trails in a very wild setting in terms of nature, kind of wildness, that has been preserved so for thousands and thousands of years. But they have just in the last, I would probably say 10 years, maybe even less, been welcoming more outsiders from not only within Japan, but international travelers as well. And because they are a network of communities, as well as these different trails in this particular mountain range peninsula, it's not like one particular site is overwhelmed at all yet.
Okay, so it's pretty new, so that people want to take, you know, heed of this, because everyone starts to flock, you know, as it happens. But this is also a very spiritual place. It seems that you've got Buddhism and a lot of different myths and legends as well. But this is something that is really a culturally significant place. So you want to be very respectful when you're there, right?
Absolutely, but there are a lot of different ways to approach it. And when I was talking to Mike Rhodes, who is an expat from Colorado, who has been living in Japan, has a Japanese family now. He's been working with the Kumano Association on bringing the trail pilgrimage idea into the modern world. He was saying you kind of decide at the beginning of the trail how you want to approach this. You can go in as an adventure hiker, a backpacker. You can go in as a luxury traveler staying at these exquisite onsen guest houses and hotels with their own natural hot springs. You can visit the temples by bus, by car, or you can choose to hike any of the number of trails on your own. Many of them crossroads, but they don't. Some of them are very rough and would be very, if not professional, but a very astute hiker, a very experienced hiker would take on that. And Mike hadn't even done that in the 25 years. There are other trails that are very mild in terms of the, climbing up and down stairs and that. They are all very well maintained on those particular routes as far as I can tell.
And what about communication in regards to going there and being in Japan? Is English spoken widely enough to get around?
Well, I found more so than ever. When I've traveled before, even some of the signage was only in Japanese, and I couldn't read it, like in Tokyo subway station when I was first there about 20 years ago. But now it's multilingual, and even on the small community buses, there are signs or announcements in various languages as well as English, and you just kind of have to wait for the sign to roll through, and eventually it will say what the stop is in very readable English, or an announcement will come through and you just wait and it comes through in English. So it was really easy to get around.
That's cool. That's very welcoming.
Yeah.
It is.
And I think I'd like to see America get a little bit better with that. I think it's something we've said a lot on shows, right, Nancy, is,
Right.
there's some major languages spoken throughout the world, and it would be good if we had better signage to some of our bigger place. You know what I mean? A little.
I do.
I think we should. It's more welcoming, for travelers, and I think it's great when you can also learn each other's languages, even if it's a funny experience. When you're in a different country and you try out their words and they try out yours, but it's a way of connecting, and it's a very it's just really nice. It's fun because
It is.
like we can't speak Japanese, but we're going to sure try today. I do want to give people the website for Kumano Travel. It is TB as in travel and B as in boy dash KUMANO.JP. But also, you'll get to link right through there if you go to Elaine's article up on nationalparktraveling.com. And the T is for Tanabe City, right?
I
Tourism.
believe so. I'm not quite sure, but that's where they have their central office for the Kumano-Kodo.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be Tanabe, maybe visitor bureau. I'm not sure at all either. But so this is so cool, because what I really enjoyed about your article is all these myths and legends. And going back, it's almost like when you think about Celtic myths and legends, there's the the creatures of the forest, and there's the evil and the non-evil, and so there's all of that going on. Doesn't that just show that we're all connected, because we do seem to have those mythical stories that have the same kind of foundation?
Right, and the symbol for the Kumano-Kodo has been adopted from some of those myths. It is a three-legged crow, and this crow has his name is Yatagarasu, and I'm probably mangling that, but he has become this legendary creature because in the 7th century, the first emperor of Japan, whose name was Jimmu Tenno, he got lost in the forest while he was on a spiritual pilgrimage. And as the story goes, that eventually he found his way out by following the lead of a giant crow. And so this crow the crow is often kind of seen as kind of malevolent, and
Mm-hmm.
they were present everywhere that we went on the trail. You could just hear them echoing in their call and response in the forests, and then you would see these statues or even T-shirts and things. And the soccer team has adopted this three-legged crow as well as the way through, the way to triumph. And I loved reading about that. And that also, the crow is also so prominent in other cultures, like in Scandinavia.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was living in Southeast Alaska that the crow was very important part of their culture, but he was kind of a wise trickster. And here in the Kumano region, he may be that as well, but he mostly is there as a symbol of finding your way to victory.
Wow.
You know, it's interesting. The crow is kind of like what the coyote is in the mammal legend world. Like they're smart, and crows truly are smart.
Yes, very
I
So I
love
think
watching.
why, yeah, they're cool.
And they steal eggs, other birds' eggs, and
They do a lot of stuff.
they do a lot of stuff. Crows and ravens,
Mm-hmm.
you just hear more and more about them. Aren't they the ones, Nancy? We just did the interview with Christopher Lloyd on the book Humanimal that he wrote, and he
Mm-hmm.
was talking about how don't crows have? Are they the ones that throw their like the chestnuts or nuts on the road so cars will drive over and crack them open for 'em?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the part about that's interesting in the modern world now, they throw the nut down, the cars run over them, but they now have learned to wait for the light to turn red before they fly down and scoop out the good parts of the nut.
Wow. Wow.
That's
I
amazing.
mean, think about it. They don't go. They know to wait for the light to turn red.
Wow. See, we're all
They're
connected.
smart.
I
Yeah.
know. So when you were there, you went through like there's like the tallest waterfall too. I love waterfalls and forests.
Mm.
Yet, you've got the culture. Like, did you get like when you're going through that and walking? Did you kind of get like I don't know. Did you kind of look in the forest, going like, "Are you there, gods and goddesses?" You know what I mean? Not to get woo
I
woo
do.
on everybody, but
There's a famous picture of the Nachi waterfall. They say Nachi-san waterfall, which is a term of endearment, and it has been. They say to stand in the mist, you are given blessings at that waterfall. But the waterfall was almost anticlimactic as a culmination to my part of the trail, which I had done just, I have to say, a very small part of this trail, which goes on for probably 50 or 60 kilometers if you really get into it. And you can spend a lot of time going from a village and trail and onsen and temple and shrine. But we just did a few days of the hiking, and then we would stay in very comfortable places, and we would take buses in and out to the trailheads where we wanted to go. But with the particular waterfall, I was there it's kind of the culmination site for many on the Kumano, and it's at the base of a temple complex that was first created or acknowledged thousands of years ago as part of the Shinto. It wasn't even religion, but they were like nature worshipers who placed stones in the forest, and you can see these stones at different places on the trail, and some of them have turned into shrines over time. And then there's this magnificent temple complex. And when the day that I was going to the waterfall, I heard there was going to be a festival at the top of the waterfall.
cool.
So I said to myself, I want to get to that temple complex before the crowds arrive. So they told me the festival probably start around 9:30. So I left early in the morning from a village I was staying in with my sister named Ki Katsura. And it's a port village. It's very sweet. It's a touristy area there, and very pretty, with some very interesting, beautiful rock formations in this little bay. It's a very much a working fishing town. Tuna fleet comes in there. There's a huge fish plant there. But I took the bus up on my own because my sister stayed behind that day to this Diamond-Zaka slope, which is a stairway that goes up through this ancient cypress forest. And at one point you pass through these two on either side of the trail. It's all in stone. Are these two giant trees that are about 800 years old, and they're considered the mother and father tree. So there's a beautiful shrine kind of there, a large stone basically with a sign saying that that's who they are. So you kind of get this blessing as you go up this trail. And I was on my own, but there were people. I'd gotten off the bus, crossed into the forest, taking this trail, but there were many people. I would pass, small groups of people from time to time, but I would have to stop and rest because, you get hot and I'm not used to the altitude. And people would say when they saw me stopping and pausing and just getting some water or something, they would come over to me and they'd say, keep going. It won't be long now. And I think because I was by myself that people felt more comfortable speaking to me because I was clearly out of my element, But then I got to the end of this forest and I said, oh, there's the temple. But no, that was where the stone stairs went up through the village to the temple, which is up at the top of the mountain.
Oh my gosh. And the elevation, because the altitude, I mean, we just went through that with Colorado.
Yeah.
It really affects your body and it
It
affects,
can.
yeah, I just get giggly. But I did learn to drink water. Our friend Eva, she was like, when you get to Colorado, you need to drink more water than ever because of the altitude, just to help you. And it really did help a lot, just to drink a lot more water. But so when you get to that point and now you have to, this reminds me of Debbie Stone going to Bhutan and having to do the big hike up to I think they put their temples on the hill for like protection or something.
No, it's to be closer to the spirits. Whatever
maybe.
spirits or gods they believe in. Everybody always goes to the highest point to be closer to the spirits.
Wow.
That may be part of it, yeah.
So your festival's at the top, like, did you have?
Right.
I'm picturing you. I'm like, oh.
Well, I kept going, taking my time, and I get up to the top, and it was, these temple complexes. There are many of them throughout Japan, and in this particular area, there's 4,000 little shrines all through this Wakayama Peninsula. And they're everything from stone to these massive complexes. And that's what I was going towards. But most of the shrines are, pretty austere. You go and there's a respectful silence. There are people are saying prayers or chanting, or there are bells ringing, and you know that you're in a spiritual place. Well, this one was like, it was truly a celebration. And people, as soon as I came up, it was not overly crowded at all, but people started offering me, there was a stand as I walked by, they were offering me a sweet bean soup. And then another place, these beautiful women in full kimonos, very formally dressed, said, would you care for some matcha? And I sat down, they brought me a bowl of ceremonial matcha. And it was all because you were a pilgrim. And I'm sure there was more to it than that these were offerings you were then part of. But the most amazing thing with all this going on is that at one point I heard drumming coming below the temple and I looked over this railing down below and I saw the procession. And there was a man dressed as a priest at the front of it, and there was drumming going on. And then this long line of people in costumes coming up from the forest. And I noticed where they were going. I said, where are they going to come out? I moved quickly to that vantage point, and then they came right by me. I was 4 or 5 feet from all these people in gorgeous medieval costumes, some dressed as samurai warriors, some as fishmongers, some as priests, nuns in these beautiful purple gowns with big hats.
Wow.
It just went on and on. Children dressed up, and I didn't know who these people are, why this was happening. And later on, Mike Rhodes from Kumano Tourism told me that this festival happens every year, and it's kind of a recreation of an imperial procession.
Oh, wow.
So all these people are from the community. Anyone who wants to wear a costume, I could have rented a costume and been part of it.
Oh my
But I
God.
didn't see many Westerners there as part of this. So
Now, would you go if you went back? Number one, would you go back, and would you dress up?
I would certainly entertain the thought. I think so.
I would want to. I would want to get in there. You know what I
It
mean?
sounds like fun.
I know
Yeah.
it's interesting. And so like this imperial procession, and we think about the imperial times, but you're also talking like samurai warriors and everything
Mm,
roam through this area. I mean, you look at just, I mean, they were really regal. You
mm.
know, you look at their outfits and their swords, and like I don't. To me, the samurai warriors are. I just like they kick butt. And
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
I was gonna say I didn't stop
Like you
myself
don't
from
want to mess
saying
with them.
something. Yeah, you don't, they were amazing. I mean, they're just their history is so fascinating. So to me, it's like here's all this. You're going to this festival. You going you have to go up, 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 up. You get there.
Right.
So and then at the same time, there's it seems really beautiful. Really, I mean, these old forests to me, ancient
Mm,
forests. That's just magic. That's pure
mm.
I
magic.
love that.
I believe that fairies will pop out at places like that. I'm sorry, I'm weird. But like then you think about, that side of it, samurai warriors going through, and then the Emperor of Japan, the 7th century. You said the beloved
Yes.
first emperor of Japan, Himu Tenno.
Yes.
Excuse me for not saying it correctly. I hope I'm doing it. So he got lost in a forest there, and that's where everything was like poisonous, right? So there's like
Well,
this all other side to
mm,
this. You
it,
can you always have to have the good and the bad together, right?
right. Well, you are in a very wild place, even though there are villages throughout the forest. There still are wild boar there, and there are
Wow.
a few poisonous snakes. And there's centipedes that I've heard can fall out of
Ooh.
trees that can bite you and make you very sick.
Uh-uh.
I didn't see any of that. I think the
Oh, you
most
didn't?
exotic thing I saw on the trail, I was sitting at this little way station in the middle of the trail on the first day with my sister, and it was shut down for the season, and chairs were piled up, but we were sitting at a table just resting for a few minutes. And she said, "Be careful when you move your feet. There's a big worm." And I looked down, and I had
Ooh.
never seen anything like it. It was about 8 inches long. It
Wow.
was maybe half the width of a pencil, and the head looked like a hammerhead.
Ooh,
Um,
Ew.
and it was moving, and it was
ooh,
slick and black, and
ew.
it was just kind of
Ew.
very slowly. It didn't pay any attention to me. I don't know where it was going, but I have pictures of it, and I still haven't identified quite
Ew.
what it was.
I think that's a tapeworm. That sounds like a tapeworm.
A tapeworm not in your body? Oh,
Well,
I'm Googling this after we're done. I'm
I
totally
know.
into this.
I think they also live in nature before
It
they
could
get in your
it could
body.
be a type of salamander or a centipede kind of thing.
There were no legs.
A
Oh, that's
salamander
a
is
worm.
not a worm.
Yeah, it's a
Mm.
worm. That's a worm. You got
It's
a
a
hammerhead
tapeworm.
worm. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, Nancy. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's
Ew.
oh, that's so cool. Did you take a photo of it?
I took several photos, a little video. I saw some really interesting kind of circular, but almost like a basket weave spider webs inside a log at one point.
Oh, neat.
Uh, it's
I
just
like stuff like that.
fascinating. Yeah.
And different
Insects
forests.
do weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think forests are there's just this amazing network of what happens, just this,
They're
the different habitats.
mysterious,
Yeah, they
you
are
know.
Yeah.
mysterious.
They're mysterious.
And I love the whole, the like the spiders and everything, like the orb weavers and how they do that. I'm all into it. I know it freaks other people out, but to me, that means you're in a healthy area. Like things are thriving, when
There
that
you
happens.
go. Yes.
What about monkeys?
Uh, I did not see monkeys there, but
Oh,
it's interesting. I did run into wild monkeys outside on a day trip not far from central Kyoto. I went to see we took a train to this temple where we were going to have lunch, and what is it? Tenryuji, I think is the name of the temple. It's also in the village, which has become very famous for the bamboo groves. You've probably seen pictures of these amazing bamboo groves, and it's very Instagrammable destination right now. So we wanted to see that. And while we were looking for that, we took a walk by this river, and it was kind of a lightly rainy day. And we see this sign for wild monkeys. And we said,
Ooh,
oh, let's go there. And so
yeah.
we didn't know that we were going to be taking quite a hike up to and again, another high precipice, and I did not have the right shoes for it. So I had to go very slowly on this stone trail. And then we get up there, and there was a small building and kind of an open space. It was probably about 50 feet wide. And on one side, there was a railing where you could look out across the valley and see Kyoto below. And then as we were standing there, a couple of the attendants came out and started throwing nuts. And these monkeys came down from the mountains and out of the forest. Babies, big ones, females with
Wow.
them on their bellies.
Oh,
And they were running around, and I had seen signs before we got to that area that said, here's the things you need to be careful about when you're interacting with the monkeys. First of all, do not interact with them.
yeah.
Do not look them straight in the eye.
No, don't.
Do not
Yeah,
poke
yeah.
your camera right into their face. Do not try to feed them by all means. And they do bite.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
I have one time in Kenya, we had this little cabin, and this male baboon decided that the cabin was his on the front porch, so
Oh.
we couldn't go in or out the cabin. So I got this bright idea. I'm just going to pour a bowl of water on his head. Oh boy. Oh boy,
Man.
oh boy, wrong move. So I sneak out there, and of course he already knows I'm there, but he's like, I'm not turning around for you. And I poured the water on his head, and he turned around and showed those big teeth, like they're as big as lions, and he was blinking. Then I felt really sorry for him because I made him wet, and then he stood up and like, I'm running.
Oh my goodness.
You don't mess with monkeys.
No, you don't.
Mm,
No, you don't.
mm,
But
Well, the
no.
particular monkeys I was close to just ignored us. They ignored the humans while we were walking around. They would
Wow.
brush past my leg, you know, little
Wow.
would run right
Oh,
past
they're
us.
getting fed?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting fed. That's why they know where
Yeah.
their food is.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you guys
Yep.
can look at me. I'm getting my food. They know what's going on. They know the deal. I,
Yeah.
on the trail, on the Kumano, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the lodging and the food, and especially for someone who's never been to Japan. What should they expect in regards? Is it, when you think you're going from the west to the east, for those coming from the west, I should say.
Oh, to the Eastern culture and the food.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, we arranged on the Kumano to stay in a very old onsen guest house. What do they call it? It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, anyway, it was right on the river, on the way to where we were going to go to the temples and hike. And so it was our first night in the region. We left Tanabe, the town, the last main town, before you go into the interior. So we were on a bus for a couple of hours, and people got on and they got off. Hikers got on and off with their backpacks or their sticks to hike, and they were stopping and going into different places on the trail. And we were dropped off right in front of our guest house, which was amazing. It was a ryokan, that's it. And I had arranged for a traditional tatami mat room, and they took us into the building and up these stairs. It was all wood, and opened the door with a key, and we walked into this beautiful little space, and there was a window open facing the river in front of us. And my sister just turned around and just said, "Thank you, Elaine," and threw her arms around me and gave me a big hug, because she had never been in this kind of an environment before. And that's part of the reason I wanted to stay in this place. And they had tea waiting for us and little cookies. And
Oh, cool.
that was just wonderful. And it's always green tea. And then we had included there was our dinner and our breakfast, and I had arranged for them to pack in the morning before we left a bento box lunch for us to take on the trail. So we were very well fed that night.
Especially when you're in the altitude. Yeah, the higher altitudes, you want to eat more and you're hiking. But when you talk about these rooms, are you said like a mat room? So are you sleeping on like mats? Is it a different bedding
Yes,
situation?
you have choices often whether you want a Western style bedroom or the traditional. Tatami mats are these bamboo woven mats, and they're usually, that I have seen, bordered by a fabric and then sewn together to fit into a traditional room. And then there are shoji screens, which are the rice paper screens on wood frames, usually in the rooms. We had a Western style building with a full wooden door, so there was privacy, and you had a closet and chairs to sit at. But we slept on the futon beds that they would open up while we were at dinner onto the floor on those tatami mats.
Oh yeah.
And most of the places we stayed when we chose a tatami room, they were pretty comfortable, but sometimes the mats can get compressed and they're a little hard. But these were very comfortable. And the thing about, you think about sleeping on the floor, it's different than the Western experience in that from the moment we entered the front door from the street, they had us take off our shoes and leave them on a rack there, and they gave us slippers. And in some of the different guest houses we stayed in, there were slippers when you went to the bathroom. You wore the tatami slippers in the guest house, but then when you went to the bathrooms, they had toilet slippers.
Okay.
So it gets very specific. And there was one place we stayed at that was kind of a Western style hotel, but when we came in, we registered with our rolling luggage, and then they came to me while I was taking off my shoes. They said, "Can we wash the wheels on your luggage?" And I said, "What?" And they picked up my luggage, turned it on its side, and wiped the street dirt off of the luggage wheels so that we could take them into our tatami room.
Wow. Wow.
Alrighty then.
But yeah, why bring in stuff? Yeah, you want to.
I loved it.
It's clean. It's a clean thing, and I even think of the Buddhism culture is very clean. Like if there's the old adage of like, you cook breakfast, clean it, put it away, make room for the next thing. You know what I mean? It's like they don't like anything to pile up. It's
Yes.
It's interesting about the futon beds. When we first got back to this country, I bought a futon bed from my German boss. Okay, so he was German, but anyway, it was this double bed, futon bed, and because we moved a lot, well, now we are on the road full time, so that's who we are. But this bed, it was like anybody would know I'm moving in because you would hear the clank 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 of the slats. It was way low down, and I've personally slept on the floor for many years as of just there's something about it that feels really good, and I can't explain it, and it is a different experience. But I slept basically on the floor for many years with this futon, which was not even like a foot above the floor basically, and it had
Right.
slats. And it's amazing, you think futons, like, it's not the wire cheapo stuff, man. This was like an amazing bed, like amazing mattress. And eventually, if you don't pull it around, it will get thin. But that bed was like, that was my bed. Like, I loved that bed. But moving and setting it back up, like, seriously, nobody liked me. People could hear me down the street trying to put it
Oh
back
my
together
goodness.
again. But there's something, I think, aligning with it. I think there's
Yeah.
something to it.
And
I
I
don't know
found it
what.
was good. It was good for my back and my neck to sleep on that. In that
Yeah,
too.
I got to a point of only wanting really thin pillows, as
Mm.
it changed my whole sleeping culture. It's really bizarre. Like,
I liked also, you mentioned how there's not a lot of clutter in a way in the traditional Japanese way of living. And I can't say that I've been in that many Japanese homes, but with the futon beds, they're a little wider than our single beds that I've seen, and they fold them up and put them in a closet when you get up in the morning, and then you take it
wow.
out and folded out on the floor at night. So it's really, and that's another part of the culture. It was
Well, they're
fascinating.
on a little island, you know.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're
Yeah.
not like America all spread out. We just take as much space as we feel we need,
yes.
until it
Well,
becomes apparent that, well, okay, you really can't have that much space because we have so many people wanting the same amount of space. But
Mm.
they're on a little island. You got to go up. You can't go out.
it's like New York apartments, man, where you have your
Yeah.
bathtub in your kitchen,
Mhm. Yeah.
you
Oh,
know.
nice.
Well, they do. A lot of New York apartments have a bathtub in the kitchen. And, because it's multitasking and
Yes.
multitasking your space, basically. It's like
Oh, so
Murphy
you're like
beds.
taking a bath while you're cooking? Is that what you
No,
mean?
well, I don't know, but this I know of some people who do have that, and it's like Murphy beds. I think it's kind of cool to me. I like look, we're getting into the tiny house concept, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's as what we do as we travel full time. Our whole concept is, as you travel, you start getting all the brochures and everything,
Mhm.
and then next thing you know, like right now behind my desk here, I have a couch that is just nothing but piles of brochures that I have to work through before we hit the road again, because you can't take it with you. You
Mm.
can't, and that's become our life. Is we have a suitcase each, a carry bag each, our computer and radio and camera gear,
Wow.
and oh, we have our Portofino wine bag. We have our wine
That's the most
taken
important.
taken care of, and a little kitcheny bag thing to do stuff, but like make salads and stuff in your hotel room. Sorry, hotel owners. But that's it. And when you start bringing stuff in, then now you've totally destroyed your lifestyle. You can't. You just can't. You can't do it. So it's a very interesting thing. When when you're going through the forest and walking, it seems like, okay, so it looks like you're looking at the photos and reading. It seems like it's very much. You were saying earlier, part of it is still pretty primitive. Some parts of it you would think like you're hiking through like Olympic National Forest or Mount Rainier. There's that
Mhm.
wet forest look,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden here comes the ones where there's all these flags and very
Yes.
cultural. So it kind of goes in between. So if we wanted just a nature experience, we could do that, right? Or is it going to immerse people in both, which I think is cool personally. But
Well, the part of the trail that we took from it was from Hoshinimon Shrine. The bus dropped a group of people off in the middle of this, just on the side of the road, and then we went up to the shrine where you it's kind of the beginning shrine for this particular part of the Nakaechi Trail, the route. And you get your blessing, you do a little temple purification washing there and just set your intention. That's how I approached it. And then you take off down the road and you walk down the road for a couple 100 feet. And then there was a little wooden sign pointing with the Kumano symbol on it. And you would head down that trail. And the trail would go through villages, like just small little outposts. And there were many, many gardens. We saw people who had green tea bushes that they were cultivating. There would be little farm stands where you could pick up some things.
mm,
In that particular area, they're famous for this kind of apricot plum called ume oshi. I know I'm slaughtering that, but ume, and it's a tart taste, like a plum taste, but it's used in wines and other areas. But here I read about how this was used by the warriors. They would bring it with them because it gave them energy, and it was like that tartness also had like vitamin and minerals in it too. So
ooh,
you could pick up some of that at these stands, or you could stop at a little at some places where there would just be a hut, and they were there and open just for the pilgrims, and you could order a sandwich or very small little things, or a cup of coffee was a real treat when you were on the trail, and tea as well, and
mm.
then just keep going.
This is cool. I kind of like this, like little
Yeah,
stops where you can
yeah.
pull over and you're on foot. And
I really didn't know what to expect until we took off. I just knew that it was being done. It was in small bites where it wasn't going to be a huge physical challenge, because that was important for the two of us,
mm,
to
just to relax.
to do it comfortably as well.
Yeah. So as you're going on these trails, are you Is it kind of progressive where you're staying in a different place each night, or are you doing a different offshoot and then going back to your lodging?
You can do it a lot of different ways. Um, the end of the trail, when I was talking about the waterfall, you can take a car right up to within a few feet of the temples. I saw people getting out of cars, but not very many. There was near the waterfall, there was a bus stop. When
Oh.
I went, got off down at the riverbed because I wanted to take this trail through the forest. And so that was another way to approach it, as doing more of the pilgrimage. So that was my pilgrimage day. Whereas people do that for weeks, they'll go from shrine to shrine, and you can stay there. There are towns all on the outskirts of the wildest regions that you can get to by going to a bus stop in the middle of the trail. You'll cross a road, there's a bus stop, and they have wonderful brochures that list all the times of the buses, and when the onsen, and in the different, like there's one little town called Omine that is known for its hot spring. It's just an ancient little hot spring. You can sign up for a 30-minute bath, and then the next person comes in. And then it's surrounded by little guest houses there. And so people stay there. There are hostels, there are ryokans, there are the guest houses can tend to be like small hotels. There was one spot where there was a multi-story kind of Western-looking hotel, but you didn't see many of those. And the thing that I had been told by the tourism board is that you need to book far ahead of time, especially if you're going to be there during the most popular times of the year, which would be I suppose the end of the summer before the rainy season, or right after it was, especially as the leaves are changing color.
Mm. Because I know Japan understands forest bathing and the
Yes.
nature, and so yeah, I understand the seasons. And you say wear layers because it's you're looking at snow-capped mountains, part of the trail, and it's getting cold. So the weather can change in and out. So that's also good advice for everybody. What a cool adventure! I mean, seriously, that's awesome. That is so awesome that you got to do that and just walk through such ancient history, natural ancient history and cultural ancient history. And I just love all the myths and legends. I think that's just super cool. I
Mm.
dig that. And I like the whole thing about the nature spirits,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Shinto nature spirits. Like, I want to be a
Mm-hmm.
nature spirit. I do. I am one. I make myself one now. Like, that's it. I am one. I did want to touch base with you on the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, which we say is IFTWA. It's easier to say.
Mhm.
You just went to the conference, right, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They have a conference every 12 to 18 months. I know the next one is November 2020 in Fort Lauderdale. Everyone, you can go to ifwtwa.org. If you're a
Mhm.
travel writer, photographer, or an actual destination, they connect everybody together when it comes to travel and tourism, food and wine. How was the conference? What was it like?
We were in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It was extraordinary. Beautiful Hotel La Fonda right in the
Mm.
central plaza there. They just treated us so well. We got a chance to go to the cooking school, the Santa Fe cooking school. There were little excursions throughout. I went to the O'Keeffe Museum, and then there were workshops on a lot of different aspects of travel writing. And I actually got a chance to teach this year. They asked me to teach about editing video on your cell phone, because I do a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
videos. And this is something that's become much easier just in the last 6 months. So I had a wonderful time talking about that. It's a really important part of storytelling for me and what I'm trying to do. And I think it's also the trend right now, is so much, as well as we're being asked to do more and more all the time, but writing, and as well as the images. I love to take pictures with my phone, some with my camera. I'm not as good at camera photographer, but I do a lot with my Android phone, and I have one of the more recent versions. I can't believe the quality of it. So we had a chance to look into some of that. And then I got a chance to go to Ghost Ranch and to see Georgia O'Keeffe's home in
Oh, wow.
Abiquiu, as well as to go to Ghost Ranch, where she spent her last years.
That's so cool to do. I know because we were in Santa Fe this summer. I also stayed at La Fonda, which is incredible,
Oh.
especially if you love art and
Mm.
Southwest history,
Mm-hmm.
history of tourism with Fred Harvey, you know. But we went to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. It was actually the first place we went. And we met with Debbie Stone, who writes with the magazine, and she's in IFTWA as well. She was like our greeter and took us around. She's a docent at the museum. And hearing about Ghost Ranch, and our timing didn't work to go. But I really wish we did get to go there because we're really learning about her and her connection to the Southwest is
Yes.
really quite fascinating. She really was a woman of firsts as well.
Yes.
I thought she was really an amazing, amazing woman. And so that's really lucky and special that you got to go there. I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Everybody, again, follow Elaine. Where's your next destination?
I'm going to be going to Europe. I don't go very often, but I'm going to Italy, to Catania in March, and I'm really right now looking forward to staying home for a little while and getting all these stories out, getting caught up, reconnecting with family and friends that I didn't see a lot of this year, and then launching off again as we get towards spring.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Italy, right on. Very cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Everybody, keep up with Elaine at tripwellgal.com. You also find her on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all Pinterest, all those places. But go right to her site. You can follow all of her adventures. Again, her article is up on Parks and Travel Magazine, on the Parks and Travel Magazine website, which is nationalparktraveling.com, and also in the January-February issue of the actual digital magazine as well. And of course, go to ifwtwa.org. We love our second Friday conversations with travel writers and destinations around the world. You can keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Our segments air Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Sundays. But we always love to play music for our guests and, of course, for you, the listener. And this song I thought was going to be a perfect match, and it is. It's from the acoustic husband-wife duo Yagull, and you can go to yagull.com. That's Yagull, yagull.com, and it's from their album Una. And we also did a wonderful interview with them, and it's just such a beautiful album. And this song is called Mori, which is a forest song, and she's also she's from Japan, and I think she'd enjoy this conversation too. They are awesome couple. So again, here it is, Mori, the forest song. Thank you so much for joining us, Elaine. It's been a real pleasure.
It was fun. Thank you.
Take care.